So what's happening, man? What's going on?
Well, it's been 2 weeks since we recorded this, so I've been doing kind of some relaxation. A lot of video game playing was done. A lot of home games work was done.
Oh,
A lot of sitting down was done.
that's my favorite part.
I love sitting down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The biggest thing, I guess, besides home game stuff, I beat a bunch of video games. So I beat Destroy All Humans, which I talked about a few weeks ago. I started.
Yeah.
That game was okay.
Is it better than your initial impression of it? Because it seemed like you were pretty down on the game.
No, it's not better than my original impression. It is exactly what I said originally, which is it's simple and repetitive. And that's basically the game. Like, you kind of just do these missions and you kind of whatever. But anyway, I beat it because I wanted to beat it. And then I got all the achievements because I was like, I beat the game and then I had like 5 achievements left. I was like, okay, well, I'll just do this, you know? So I like 3-starred all the challenges and stuff like that because it just does the thing for me.
Yeah. It does the thing. It's the please, Mr. Brain, give me some serotonin.
Yeah.
Give me some dopamine.
Yeah, I need that. Like, the sense of accomplishment is just all I'm looking for. Just anything giving me 3 stars. It's like, thank you. So yeah, beat that game, uninstalled it. We'll probably never play it again, but kind of glad I beat it. And then I played a little bit more of The Last of Us, but not enough to really have any sort of significant difference. Just kind of another hour or two in that. It's okay. The real thing I played is Scarface.
More Scarface.
And I kind of have a tragic end to this story.
Oh.
I got to Scarface. I finished Scarfac. Got the E.
Yeah.
Did everything. Got further than I've ever gotten in the game. Was on the last mission.
Okay.
The last mission of the game. I think. I don't know. But after Scarface, you kind of get this one mission to go somewhere and do something in particular. You got to go to this island and kill a bunch of guys or whatever. And I went to the island, killed a bunch of guys, and then there's one particular part where you have to go talk to an NPC. You hit a button, and you talk to him. And every single time, because I'm playing on an emulator, every single time I hit the button, no matter what my settings are, no matter what GPU renderer I'm using, no matter what anything, crashes.
No.
Like, it starts this cutscene, which then repeats a line of dialogue. And I don't know what the line of dialogue was, but it was like, it stopped becoming words at a certain point. It was just like hammering into my head of like what Tony was saying. And so it was kind of sad because like I said, I wanted to just finish the game once and for all, and I seriously did. Except for like what I'm guessing is close to the last cutscene, and the emulator just crashes every single time. So it's kind of a downer for the end of that.
That's pretty brutal.
But so I'm gonna say I beat it. I can YouTube the end.
Yeah.
But basically, kind of beat Scarface.
Nice.
It was cool. Scarface is the best game of Destroy All Humans, and I put another thing this week that I forgot about. Danger Zone. Yeah, it's whatever. It's a whatever game. I don't even want to talk about it. But but Scarface is better than those.
Nice.
You know.
My week actually was like the opposite. I basically just watched TV and a movie.
What movie?
So kind of like what you're talking about before with the Killer Clowns from Outer Space movie.
Yeah.
There's a classic Anaconda.
Oh, like with what's his name?
Yeah, with Owen Wilson.
Wait, that wasn't what I was thinking of. I guess what's his name wasn't specific enough. Anyway, go ahead.
Owen Wilson, Danny Trujillo.
Okay. Is it Danny Trejo?
I have no idea how to pronounce his name.
I don't think there's an L in his whole name. Anyway, go ahead. The Anaconda.
Yeah. So basically, it's like a really garbage movie about these people who are supposed to be going into the Amazon to meet some like I never contacted before Amazonian locals, indigenous people, not locals. And they run into the villain of the movie who is revealed to want to hunt an anaconda. And the anaconda kills them.
Wait, you said the villain wants to hunt an anaconda?
Yeah.
Wouldn't the anaconda be the villain
Maybe.
if he's killing everybody?
There's basically like 2 villains. One is a human villain and the other one's an anaconda villain.
But those villains are at odds?
They are at odds.
So it's kind of like a gray morality.
Honestly,
here. Like,
it's basically a rehash of Moby Dick.
Okay. Who's the Captain Ahab?
Captain Ahab's the human villain.
Okay.
And Moby Dick is the anaconda in this case.
Okay. Keep in mind, I know nothing about Moby Dick besides it's a whale and the guy's name is Captain Ahab.
Oh, basically Captain Ahab goes crazy.
Okay.
And like basically just hires crew to go out and try to hunt this whale, and like a bunch of his crews have died doing that. And he's like basically the only survivor, and he's got like a missing arm and a missing leg and like a missing eye from fighting this whale.
And in the end, he's like, I won.
I don't remember if he kills the whale or not.
I would think. I don't know anything about this story.
Well, so the way I'm thinking of it, right? If he kills the whale, it would be kind of fitting for the time period Moby Dick was written in that humans conquered nature. But also for that time period, it might be like a cautionary tale, like don't press so hard
Chase victory.
that you're throwing away like everything. And so maybe he doesn't get the whale.
Interesting. Oh, that wasn't one of my notes, but I did want to briefly talk about the book, the culture series.
Oh, the culture series. Yeah.
So what's the first one? It's like Remember Phlebas or some shit.
Yeah. I think that's the start of like an arc. Yeah.
I sent you the text earlier this week. I was reading. I hate that book.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Oh.
It's like I'll try to keep going because I feel like the content of what the story is going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. It's called Consider Phlebas.
I don't remember the
first
names.
book of the culture series. Yeah. It's a book. And yeah, like your whole kind of thing about how it's this utopia where robots run things. I don't believe that it could exist. So like I want to read that story and I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
The text is so hard for me to parse.
Yes.
It's like I read the prologue twice, just trying to get what it was telling me, and it was like some ship. It's describing a ship that's been like abandoned by people, and it doesn't have the kind of guts for people to use because it kind of doesn't need that stuff. And then it like knows there's a bunch of other ships that want its resources or something, and then it blows itself up, I think.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah.
And then the first chapter, I think, is a man upside down in a prison cell drowning in human poop. I seriously do not understand the text.
I might need to reread this series. I don't remember.
And I sent you the text.
You did send me a text message.
I sent you the text of one sentence.
Yeah.
And it was like 50 words in one sentence, and half of them were real. Yeah. It's that kind of stuff where like I consider myself like I'm not the smartest guy on earth, but I'm not dumb. Like
yes, I agree with this.
But reading that kind of stuff makes me think I'm dumb. Like, who is reading? How is this popular?
Okay, so it's not super popular. The culture series isn't super popular.
Okay.
But once you get into it and like once you read enough, you start to like make sense of it. Kind of part of like what it's. I think this might be like part of the draw for science fiction and fantasy worlds and novels and stuff like that. But like as you get into it, it starts to make more sense, and then like you start to like know and understand it better, and then you meet other people who know and understand it, and then it's like it becomes like this weird like secret.
It's like your Warhammer thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yes. I mean, the Warhammer stuff is like less niche than the culture series, but
is it? The culture series seems popular on Amazon. When I found it, like a bunch of people and
yeah, I mean, the Warhammer stuff. I think a lot of people who play video games wouldn't know Warhammer exactly, but Warhammer has had a lot of spillover and effect on like sci-fi. Like StarCraft, like the original StarCraft, was supposed to be a Warhammer game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that got and at the last minute, Games Workshop, the people who like own Warhammer were like, actually no. And so then Blizzard was like, well, okay, we have like 90% of this done, so they just finished it, and it ended up being like a huge smash success.
I didn't know that.
And like the Spartan training program is kind of loosely based on like the Space Marine program from Warhammer and stuff like that.
Just hearing Space Marine, that's like the only Warhammer thing I've ever experienced was Warhammer 40k Space Marine, that like third person shooter. So I always hear the orcs just Space Marines every time I hear that.
Yeah. Also, like the way that the orcs talk in that world is just hilarious.
It's like a weird British accent.
They're like supposed to be. So Warhammer is like a British parody things. Like basically like none of it is supposed to be like serious. All of it's supposed to be like way over the top and ridiculous. And they were like, what's the most like rowdy thing we could do, and they chose like a Cockney soccer fan accent, and they're supposed to be like crazy soccer fan people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just Warhammer's touched a lot of things. The culture series is a little bit more insular. Like it's the stuff from it doesn't really like spill out into other universes, basically.
Yeah, I guess I'm generally not a fan of fantasy and that kind of stuff. Like when someone makes up a world and makes up hierarchies of like the society and like all this kind of stuff is made by somebody, it's like relearning English in a way of like, what even are you describing? And that stuff just has never been my thing. It's kind of like I've never read Song of Fire and Ice or whatever, any of those books, but I've heard people talk about being kind of put off because the amount of characters that they just introduce, this name, and you're just like, who are these people? I got that from the first chapter of this, and it was like 4 people. I was overwhelmed. So like, I don't think I can just do that easily. I have to kind of train myself for it.
Yeah, there is like a I mean, I read a lot, and like that book is hard to read.
No.
What does make it easier later on is the names are unique, so you don't need to figure out which character you're looking at. Basically, like, because like, oh, this is like character X, this is character Y, or whatever. Like, this is like this one, this is like that one. Whereas other books I've read, they reuse character names, which makes it a little bit harder to like, who the heck are we talking about right now?
Yeah, it's kind of like why I never paid any attention in history class, because it was like King Henry the what? I don't remember the numbers. I just know King Henry. I'm over it. I'll get a D. I'm all good, and I got a D.
And you were all good.
It was all good.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm very good at memorizing that like that kind of information, though.
Yeah.
Like accidentally. It's not like I put much effort into it. I just will memorize like names and like events. Pretty easily.
I think another thing is that I don't read a lot, especially lately. Like I've started several books and been like, okay, these are cool, but not a lot of fiction. Just a lot of just stuff. And jumping into something that is so heavily fiction, so heavily sci-fi like that is like a shock to my brain. So, like I said, I'll keep going. But holy shit, I hate that book so far.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna enjoy reading the book. I really do think that you would enjoy that world, though. I think the world that he builds is one that you would find very enticing. Yeah,
and that's the draw for me. I wouldn't be reading if I didn't know that was the promise beyond this man drowning in shit. But
I don't remember a man drowning in shit in that book. I really legitimately don't. Are you reading the correct culture series? But you have to be with that name, though.
I am not sure. I guess that's my point, is I think I read a chapter about a man drowning in shit, but I don't know.
Okay.
That's the kind of summary of me like trying to process this book.
All right.
But yeah, anyway, like I said, I'll keep going.
We'll add a book club book club portion of the podcast. I'll go and get the book and I'll read it with you.
Yeah, you might need to read it to me.
Yeah, just that I'm with you. So when you get stuck on something that's like very specific, I'm not like, I don't know, read this book like 3 years ago.
Yeah, no, but I'm excited to get to the kind of guts of it. I'm excited to get past this barrier because I think I don't think I'll be feeling like this on book 3 if I ever get to book 3.
No, honestly, like halfway through book 1, you won't even. You'll start to just like. Eventually, you just start to know the words. And it stops being like a weird game of like, what the hell are they talking about? And more of like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I guess my thing there is that I feel like once I get an understanding of what was really going on, the whole first half of the book or however long it took me to get to that point, I would need to reread. Because it's kind of like practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, this is what I read. Like, it was a metaphor for shit, not real. You know what I mean?
Paradise Lost was like that for me. I had to reread the first 2 chapters or 2 books of that book.
I don't know what that is.
Paradise Lost?
Yeah.
It's the English epic poem. It's about Satan.
Oh, cool.
God. Yeah. Basically, it follows after Satan lost the war with God and God threw him into hell. Satan at the start of the book starts to pull himself out of the muck finally and is like, hey, yo, which one of you angels are still alive? And they're just like, I'm here but sad. And he's like, well, let's stop being sad and start going to fight God again. They're like, I don't know about this. And he's like, I'll go figure out what's going on, don't worry.
So it's like Little Nicky with Adam Sandler. That's how I understand these.
Paradise Lost legitimately has like such a big influence on modern like everything. Like it's crazy.
I know the title. It's like like I said, I don't read. Like I'm not a well-read learner. You know what I mean? So, just that kind of.
That's some nerd shit.
Yeah.
Don't recommend 0 out of 10. That really is like you've gotten too deep into the nerd pool that you're like, I want the original. Like, where does the story come from?
The English pool?
There's only like there's two really big ones in English, and I don't remember if Beowulf is in English, but Beowulf's the last one I need to get from like the Western Hemisphere, and then there's two in the East that I want to read.
Nice.
Yeah.
The last book I read was a book about anxiety by Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb. That was like 5 years ago I finished that. So like I said, I'm not really big into starting and finishing fiction.
Yeah, I this is going to be a struggle for you, I think.
Yeah.
But speaking of fiction, and not Anaconda, there's another TV show called The Owl House on Disney Channel.
Okay.
That show is so good.
Like, is it a...
So good. It's like an animated cartoon kids show, yes.
Okay.
I love that show.
What's it about?
It's about a girl who gets transported through a magical doorway into a witch fantasy magic-y place.
Like the Narnia thing?
Kind of like Narnia, but instead of like, ooh, there's a magic lion who's going to save everything, there's an authoritarian dictator who puts laws in place and enforces them with a iron will. Mm-hmm. And so it's definitely like a little bit more, got some more grit to it.
Yeah.
And got some, and it's kind of like, it almost like it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like they remove the glossy layer that's normally on fantasy of like everything is magical and fun, and it's more like this is kind of rough, like this is a rough and tumble world, and like things aren't going great, but the main character is still like imagines it to be like that, like high gloss fantasy world, and so she treats it as that. Like they have boiling rain, and the first time and she didn't know that they had boiling rain. She was like, oh, I'm gonna go out there and like experience, I love getting like rain on me. And they were like, don't go outside, that's boiling water.
So it's like naivete or whatever?
Yeah, like she's the naive like human, and like she can't do magic, and so she has to like learn all this stuff. And I don't know, it's just a really cool show.
Interesting. I wouldn't expect Disney Channel to have a thing about how bad authoritarianism is. But.
Yeah, even more. This is like a super LGBTQ plus representative show. Like there's a lot of like character, like I don't know how many characters there are, but like quite a few of them are like not straight, so it's like super like not what I would imagine a Disney show to be.
Yeah,
it's very cool. I like it. I don't know if you would necessarily, because you don't really like fantasy worlds to begin with. No. This is like almost like a trope reversal of fantasy world, so it's kind of cool.
Interesting. How did you find it? How'd you find a Disney show?
There was not an Ask Reddit though. There's something on Reddit where they were talking about like, ooh, what a magical fight would be. Because whenever anyone brings up magic, for some reason, everyone jumps to Harry Potter. Like that's a cool magic system. Mm-hmm. And somebody was like, yeah, their magic is kind of lame. Like watch this Owl House fight scene. And I watched it and I was like, holy cow, like, this is so cool. Like it's really well done and like creative use of magic. And then I watched the show and really, really liked it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I haven't seen anything on Disney. Like we just watch old reruns of like That's So Raven and stuff. You know, I haven't seen anything new on Disney in forever.
Yeah. And it's not like I go deep into the Disney catalog regularly. This was like a one-off, maybe, that I just really enjoyed.
Nice. You don't have cable, right? Or do you?
No, I don't.
How do you watch it?
It's on Disney Now.
Oh, is that free?
No, my aunt works for a cable provider though, and so she gets access to it, which means I get access to it. Nice. So I just watch it using her account. I'm basically Alex, but instead of video games, it's television.
That's another thing we didn't mention on the actual show proper, because we mentioned it in the pre-thing last episode. Mm-hmm. But starting last week, we did a pre-conversation thing. Basically, the conversation that we have before we start talking is a separate thing on our YouTube channel. So it won't be on the podcast, like on Spotify and stuff like that. I mean, I guess someday if people want that, we could do that. But at the moment, it's basically just a video of us talking before the show on YouTube. So for people who are listening or whatever.
I'm talking about dumb stuff. It's like 100% dumb stuff.
We talked about that thick woman from 90 Day Fiance last week or last time. And then we talked about what do we even talk about? Anyway, it was dumb. Whole point is that it's dumb. It's basically like just a conversation between us. Kind of like in the early days of the show when we would just
stream of conscious the whole show.
Yeah. Just black out and 2 hours later there's a podcast. So yeah, anyway, talking about Alex, I think that was in the thing before. So
yeah.
Anyway, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. Also, did you see the 3080 stuff from NVIDIA?
I just saw that the performance is great and no one can get one. Yeah. I have a 2080 Ti, and there's all these memes about how like people who bought a 2080 Ti are just mad now because the 3080 is like half the price and better performance. So I don't care. Oh, I have another thing in here.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I think I might. I don't know if my build can handle it, but if it can, I'm gonna try to upgrade to it in like a year or two.
Yeah. Well, I think
because I'm on like a 1080. I'm on a 1070, so like I'm ways behind right now.
It was like 4 years, something like that.
Probably something like that. Yeah.
What game were you playing where you're like, oh, I need to upgrade?
No, there is no game where I need to upgrade currently.
That's the thing, you know. I'm waiting for the game where it's kind of like, oh, I need to do something about this. So kind of in that similar vein, I started playing Crysis Remastered, which came out on Friday. You know, Crysis, I don't know if people know. Basically, the computer melter came out in 2007. At the time, like no one could run it. Literally, no one could run it. It's a big meme. Can't run Crysis. So I was thinking, I have a 2080 Ti, and I have an i7 from 3 years ago or something like that. I can probably run Crysis Remastered just fine, and I can. I also have an ultra wide, so it's higher than 1080. So I didn't think it'd be that big of a problem. But basically, I can't run that game above 60 on medium, and it doesn't look that good. Like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? It doesn't shock me the way that Crysis was originally like a real shocking looking thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that might be because other games have gotten as pretty and also way better optimization for rendering.
And I guess that's what I would expect from this, is that it's remastered and they also fixed the guts to run better.
I don't think they did.
But like I can run Gears 5 at 100 FPS, like solid, and my computer's fine. This thing I can't really even hit 60 without it chugging, and it's like it's an island with 6 guys on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a cool. I never played the original Crysis.
I'm not either.
I played 2 though. I think I remember us talking about 2 in high school.
Yes.
When it came out. So very different. Crysis 1 is very different from Crysis 2, but I think that's the game where I would kind of like need to upgrade, but I don't think the game is worth me upgrading for it.
No, probably not. I just don't want to have to do a full computer rebuild.
Yeah, that's the thing, is whenever you get a new CPU, it's like, okay, I get a new motherboard.
Yep.
And so most of the time, I mean, I don't know.
I'm not sure. Basically, like rebuilding a whole computer is so expensive, and it's like your options are to like slowly accumulate parts or to like do a running rebuild basically all the time. And I think like 2 gens is pretty good to switch out a graphics card anyway.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, I'm good on GPU for a while, but at some point I'll have to upgrade my CPU. And at some point I think that'll probably be AMD instead of Intel if they kind of continue they continue trying as hard as they are to do better than Intel.
Yeah.
Successfully, by the way, I think in terms of like performance and stuff from what I've read. So I'm going to need to get a new CPU and a new motherboard to fit that new CPU. And then it's like, well, I've only got 16 gigs of RAM. I probably need 32, but now it's DDR4, so we got to get this. And it is that thing of like, I started upgrading one thing, and then here I am 5 components later, like $1,300 later.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm going to play Geometry Wars again.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing too is like my card is old enough that it can't do ray tracing. And I imagine that eventually ray tracing will be more important when it comes to like lighting games and stuff like that. So bumping up graphics card will probably be like step 1, because I have an i7, so I'm probably good there for like another 2 years.
But it depends. If your i7 is from like 10 years ago, then you're kind of
My i7 is from when the 1070 came out.
like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's about 4 years old now. Ugh. I don't know.
Well, so I would probably upgrade the next round of stuff because like the 3080 is probably, just because the consoles are coming out now and it's probably like, things are kind of on par or whatever, but PC will continue to outpace consoles. So whatever the next thing is kind of me being like ahead of the consoles. You know what I mean? That's kind of like my point when I'm doing stuff. I want to be better than the console I can buy.
Oh, see, I guess that doesn't really matter to me because it's like I could buy a console, but I'm never going to again, probably. Unless there was like one that was totally like VR or something where I don't need to like grip. Because that's like my main problem with consoles right now.
It's the Neuralink console.
Yeah.
It just alters your vision so you live in video games all the time.
No, do you know how like frightening that is? I imagine.
So like, just to clarify, when I was talking about how hyped I was on the Neuralink last time, I do not want that. I think it's like, I don't want to be a cyborg. I don't want to do that. I just think it's amazing technology. You know what I mean? No, but I was going to say, so the PS5, have you been following like all the nightmare about the PS5?
I heard that people were told that there was going to be like a really precise and well documented and known drop day. And then like that didn't happen. It was just like, by the way, it's all sold out. And that happened.
Yeah. I was watching all that stuff. I guess what they were doing is they were announcing it, and then they said that the pre-orders would be this day, and then they kind of just like accidentally did them the day before or something, and people just happened to get them and whatever. There's all this stuff, but basically watching it and seeing what games are going to be at launch, I think I'm just not going to get consoles this generation because I have such a backlog of games I need to play already. It's like, what am I going to spend $500 for Demon's Souls? No, I could probably wait 2 years and get a bundle with like a console and the games I really want to play for it. I have no need for an Xbox because all those games are on PC.
Yes.
And PS4 is just for exclusives, which are nice, but I'm not excited about the new God of War because I haven't played the last God of War. You know what I mean? I can't just keep chasing this stuff.
You haven't done yet?
Yeah, like I got older this generation of consoles. Like I was hyped for the Xbox One and the PS4. I got them both within a year of them coming out. Around the same time, I started like getting a real job. And I would argue that those consoles aren't like the games on those consoles aren't as fun as games like on the 360, which aren't as good as the ones on the PS2, which aren't as, you know what I mean? Like games used to be better. It's kind of like my old man thing.
Yeah, I think you are getting old.
Ratchet and Clank, the original, is better than Knack. That's just true.
Donkey would disagree.
Nick. Anyway, but like my thing is just I don't have a need to buy these new consoles, and I've fallen out of love with console video games over the past 8 years, something like that. So it's kind of a weird feeling, but I think this is the first generation where I just don't really care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, join me in the dark side, the PC side.
But even PC games, I just look at my Steam library and I'm just like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like maybe one day.
No, I don't have that problem. I buy very few games. Like I basically will only buy a game if I'm gonna play it like right then. Yeah.
I used to do that, and then I think like my first Steam sale happened, and then the Humble Bundles, and I was like, oh, I'm overwhelmed now.
Oh yeah, when you first start doing like, especially like back then, because the sales they were like huge. You'd get on Steam and they'd be like, literally everything is $1, and you're just like, well, what am I not gonna play? You just start buying random crap.
It's still like that. It's just every game like it's the same sale every year. It's like Skyrim's $5 next year. Skyrim's $5. You're like, okay, I bought it already.
You bought it already? Yeah, that too. But also like I feel like the sales used to be way bigger back then. And like when Humble Bundle first started to like hit the scene, holy moly, everyone and their mother was buying it, which was like very slowly raising the price in the Humble Bundle. So you wanted to buy it like quickly. Yeah, I don't know. That was a wild ride back then.
Didn't IGN buy Humble Bundle? I want to say the company that like IGN owns the company that does Humble Bundle. I might be wrong there, but some company bought Humble Bundle like a year ago.
Maybe.
And they started doing the Humble monthlies. started changing.
Probably. I don't know. I don't remember. Humble Bundle, when it first happened, was like a crazy thing because you could just be like, I'm donating all of this to charity.
Yeah.
Like, no one gets any money, 100% to charity.
I hate developers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like, so I think for people who are like getting into PC gaming now, it's like they're in the like okay age of PC gaming, to like of buying games, like building a huge library.
That's kind of the nice thing about PC gaming too, is that there's no real wrong time because the backlog's always there. You could play 20, 30-year-old games on PC still.
Well, it's the only way to play like any game that's fallen out of like sale, basically. There's no way to like play games right now on like Xbox or PS that's like not being sold anyway.
Well, you could try to find like a used game shop, which are dying. You can go to a GameStop, which is dying.
or like eBay, and like really hope that you're not gonna get like a scratch to hell, like somebody's cat got a hold of this and thought it was a chew toy or something. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's different. I don't know. It's kind of like a weird thing with PC. I would say there is one case of a game where I kind of missed it. So there's a game called like Morai, Morai, on Steam. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how it works or how it worked or how anything, but basically I bought it a long time ago, was going through my list of games, trying to just play stuff, and started it up. And then the game literally just gave me a little message. It was just like, this game is no longer available to play. Like within the game. It wasn't Steam. It wasn't any whatever. Like I owned the game. I launched the game. The game told me I could no longer play it. Mm-hmm. And I looked it up, and it was this like weird experiment where it's like a single player thing, but the actions you do influence the game for the next person who plays it. It's like this networked weird crazy thing. It was like a
I think I remember like when this game first came out, like that was super hype for a lot of people.
Yeah, it seems like a really interesting idea. I didn't look into it too much, but it was something that basically only existed in the moment, and then once the internet crazies got onto it, it kind of ruined the thing, and they were like, oh, let's shut this down. So that's kind of what they did. But that game is gone. But for the most part, any game that came out that's single player or whatever, you can still play.
Yeah. I imagine you probably could still play that game too. It would just require some extra work.
I guess I don't know enough about how it works, but like if you like have to, manually build up some like number that was output by some other person's game. I don't know. It just sounds like a lot of work.
Listen, I'm sure there's a subreddit, and I'm sure there's a Discord, and I'm sure that they'll walk you through with like very overly detailed I am Imgur album imager.
I think it's Imager. Imgur.
I feel like I've done this before on the podcast.
Probably.
But yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say something. Oh, I don't know. Did you have anything else on your list? Because I have one thing before home game stuff.
Let me look. Okay, this is just real quick, mostly for you. But okay. I was walking my dog the other day.
Yeah.
And we walked all the way out, however far we were gonna go out, and then on our way back, she really hyper focused in on something, and I was like, oh no. So I braced up like she's gonna pull and try to like chase after a rabbit or something like that. But she ended up going after what I thought was a water bottle with a condom stretched over it. It wasn't that.
Oh.
I didn't know this, but down here in the Dirty Tea, there are poisonous toads that come out during monsoon season.
Like a horned toad?
It's called the Colorado River toad.
I don't know.
It's like a big old boy. And they're very poisonous. If your dog gets it in its mouth, it can start to foam and then has seizures and then die.
Jesus.
And you're like you have a window of time to like wash them out, like you can wash out their mouth and stuff, or you have to take them to the emergency vet. Now I don't know. I was like an hour away from home at this point because it's like we got to the furthest point of our walk and we're just trying to head back. So we have like 45 minutes of walking back, and I was just like. I know that the closest vet to me is far away from where we're at right now by just walking. Like it's too far for me to walk there with her. I have to walk home, and hopefully she didn't get it in her mouth. And so we had to walk all the way home, and I had to hose her down, and she's very afraid of the hose. So I'd like hose on her paws, hose out her mouth, hose on her face. And I had to like tie her to me. It was an experience. So, if anyone's out there in Tucson listening, just be careful because apparently there's poisonous toads that abound.
Did she get it in her mouth or was she just looking at it?
She was stomping on it like it was Like, legitimately, I was like, she's trying to get the water out of a water bottle around with a condom wrapped over it. Like, she was really crushing down this toad. And then when I finally realized it was a frog, I pulled her off of it, and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
What happens now? And I like Google search it while we're walking in like the dark of night. Like, what? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was panic inducing.
So yeah, like that's one of those things where you just see a creature that you have never seen before, and it just happens to be very dangerous. It's like you can't really do much, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I just don't leave the house.
I don't know. It is like a demanding thing of just now I have to like learn an entirely different set of knowledge. Like before, I would just think about like what is gonna attack me as like a human, like a snake might if I get too close, like a Gila monster might if I get too close. Javelinas might if I get too close. Bears, mountain lions, jaguar. Like those like really things I have to worry about out here.
That's a lot of things to worry about.
Yeah, but now that's like tripled because it's like, well, what is she gonna put in her mouth?
Yeah. Is there anything you can do to kind of like learn emergency thing, like an emergency kit for dogs or something?
Oh,
like
there
that?
might be. I don't know. I'll need to look into classes for that. I'm gonna take her. I'm almost done with intermediate obedience with her. So once we're done with that, I'm probably gonna take a break from that and do snake avoidance, so that she no longer goes after rattlesnakes, which she currently does.
Nice.
So
she's like, no, I could take it. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm sure she could kill us. I think she could kill a lot of animals. I think that she'd get wrecked from them too, though, and I would have to take her to a vet, or maybe she might not make it. So
No.
Real concerning. And I've had her for less than a year, so I really don't want her to like go after Javelina, and I find her like an hour later and she's not doing so hot.
Yeah, a lot of things in the desert that can do harm.
Yeah, I mean way more than like there's parts of the world where that's not even anywhere remotely a problem.
So to my last topic that I always wanted to get to before we go on to the meat of the podcast.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I told you about the Travis Scott scooter?
Yeah.
It was in December or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was really silly. It was like $500 for a scooter.
And I told you when you're gonna get one.
I didn't get one.
Oh.
So have you seen any of the Travis Scott meal stuff at McDonald's?
My brother bought one of their shirts.
Oh, nice. I was considering it. I was looking.
He bought 2 of their shirts, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the only reason I know about it.
So I wanted to buy one of those shirts because I just think they're hilarious. And I realized I actually don't want to engage with this because I don't like how he has a McDonald's deal and then he decided to do 3 days of merch with probably like 100 items, just kind of like trying to sell people like me and your brother stuff. I was like, I don't want to be a part of that. You know what I mean? So I abstained, but I did go to McDonald's for the meal because I just wanted to try. I have a receipt from McDonald's that says the Travis Scott.
I saw your Twitter. You're a Tweety boy.
And I thought that was kind of the extent of how much I wanted to engage with this whole thing. But I do think it's kind of amazing that Travis Scott, a rapper who I've been following for a while now, kind of does this merch thing that kind of keeps ramping up in its absurdity to the point where you can buy a $350 mat that is his cartoon face with a burger on it or something like that. It's like, who the fuck is buying this? People, someone's buying this. Someone owns that. But it's kind of just amazing to watch. The burger was okay. It was a McDonald's burger, whatever. But the shirts are crazy. And I was really close to buying one at one point. I bought one for another reason, not for myself, but yeah.
I don't understand the like merch stuff. Like I don't really wear merch. So I think the only logoed t-shirt I own is the Homegames t-shirt.
Yeah.
No, that's a lie. I own one for Overwatch and one for World of Warcraft because I'm a nerd.
And there's one particular brand of shirts that you wear where there's the logo, but it's very subtle on all the shirts. But yeah, for the most part, you don't wear it.
I actually switched off that brand because their quality dropped a little bit.
Oof.
So I switched to a different brand, which has no logo on the outside.
Nice.
So it's even better for me.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't understand. Like even when we were in college, we would wear like the Lucky Charms logoed T-shirt or like the Guinness logoed T-shirt, and I was always like, why?
Well, it's just a way of it's a simple way of expressing that you're into something. If you're at school and you're wearing a weed T-shirt, and someone else can be like, yo, weed.
Yo, bro, weed, nice.
You know, it's like a way, especially when you're in college, it's a way to kind of put out some sort of message that you're into something because you're trying to figure yourself out. You know what I mean? Not like in a bad way. I think people are trying to define their identity. So it's like, well, I don't know who I am, but I do like Lucky Charms. So fuck yeah, Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms. I don't know. I never really got into that. I like it. Yeah. I like very cut and dry clothing.
Oh yeah, it's like your aesthetic.
It is my aesthetic. My aesthetic is like solid colors, generally darker colors.
Yeah.
And like completely
Yeah, like a Mark Zuckerberg.
No.
But without the lizard man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't lick my eyeballs while I'm on trial with this. I don't know whatever he was doing.
That's definitely what he was doing, licking his eyeball.
I'm just a regular person who doesn't like merch. I don't like advertising.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think I kind of like to stick to that thing. Like I have 3 shirts that are just solid colors that I kind of rotate. It's like, wow, today it's the gray one, tomorrow the dark gray. But like at a certain point, you got to kind of put the surfing 8-bit man on your shirt. You know what I mean?
See, like that one's cool, and that it's like it's like, oh, that's cool, but it doesn't like. Is that a logo for a company or like
no?
What is
this
that
is this is just I don't
it's
even.
It's just
know.
a cool surfer man.
It's just a design.
I'm into that. That's cool.
Yeah.
My brother owns like In-N-Out socks and like the McDonald's T-shirt, and like he wanted to buy an EG's T-shirt.
Yeah.
Like he asked in the drive-through from the drive-through person. They were like, "Do you guys sell those shirts?" And they were like, "No." And he was like,
"Fucking
damn,
weirdo."
I am. Yeah, my brother is kind of just like he's out there a little bit. Like he's deep into like this. You tell people what companies you're into, kind of thing.
Well, I kind of like for EGs, I get it because it's a Tucson thing.
I said the same thing about EGs. I was like, that's like a hometown favorite thing. Like that's nowhere else, and will never be anywhere else probably.
Maybe. I mean, one day it could be somewhere else, and it'll be cooler because you got it when it was a local thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I have a shirt from a coffee shop in Seattle. It's like my favorite coffee shop I was wearing just yesterday because I wanted to represent. You know, it's like you've never heard of this coffee shop type shit.
Yeah, like imagine if you owned like a Starbucks T-shirt back when it was like a coffee shop in Seattle. Like, wouldn't that would be really cool? 1 and 2, probably worth like a lot of money.
Well, like vintage stuff is actually very popular. Like you can go on apps like Grailed and just look up. Like I was in the market for a Budweiser T-shirt recently because I like Budweiser, but I don't want a Budweiser shirt unless it's old because it's like a weird thing. You know what I mean?
No,
I didn't buy one, but like I want to put a brand on my body. It just says Budweiser. I don't know. It's like something in my brain.
You can do what you want, man. I'm not in charge of anyone else. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it probably.
I'm gonna show up next week looking like a NASCAR. You know, got logos all over.
Do it. I would love that. That'd be pretty funny. Well, okay. Actually, let me reverse my statements a little bit because now I'm thinking about it. I do own like sports jerseys, which is like way more aggressive advertising. That's like you're like all over. Like,
United Arab Emirates.
Oh I have the old Bayern Munich jersey, which just had T-Mobile written across the chest, but they don't put the whole of T-Mobile. It's just T-Mob. So it's just like this big T-Mob on my chest, and like it has like the crest and logos everywhere. Like I'm literally just advertising my favorite team.
Yeah.
Like I'm into that, but I wouldn't do like a company, even though a sports team is just a company. Dang it! You know what? I don't have the moral high ground here.
Yeah, we're all just victims.
I'm just a schmuck. I'm just a schmuck who's into sports, and apparently that's all I want to tell people is I'm into sports. I don't want people to know I'm into Lucky Charms.
Yeah, but then you get kind of like the anti people who try to be cool by like, I have a hat on that just says sports because like I'm cooler than people. Bro. You know what I mean? Like. That's stupid too.
I used to be that kind of guy. I didn't wear apparel that just said stuff like that. I used to be the person who used to make fun of sports ball to be cool and fit in. But then I realized like sports are sick. So I'm kind of into it.
It's the same thing of finding your identity when you're like, well, I don't like that. So my identity is not liking that. But instead of finding out what you're actually into, you know what I mean?
I think this is like is similar to that. But then it's like, for me, it was like the realization like, oh, I'm actually very into sports. Like I spend a couple hours a week watching various sports.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Also, when I ordered the Travis Scott thing, I was praying to God that there was a sign up outside so I can just order it with confidence. It's just something I read about on Twitter. But I had to be that guy when I pulled up to the drive-thru. Hi, do you guys have the Travis Scott meal? And she answered me immediately, and she was like exhausted when she's like, "Yeah, we do, sir." I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm that guy." Okay, can I get one of those?
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
What is the Travis Scott meal? Is it just straight up just like a regular burger and fries?
A burger. Yeah, it's a quarter pounder with cheese, and I think they put bacon on it. And
It
then
seems not that different than a regular burger.
it's just a month-long promotion, and realistically, McDonald's wouldn't like alter their supply chain to add some new ingredient into it just for a Travis Scott promotion.
Yeah.
It's a Taco Bell strategy. You just keep rearranging the same 6 ingredients. So there's like, well, we got bacon. Let's put it on this thing.
Yeah.
And then it's just that, and then fries with barbecue sauce, not on them, but like on a side.
Yeah, instead of ketchup.
Yeah, and then they're supposed to give you a Sprite with extra ice, but the woman asked me what drink I wanted it, and it broke it for me. I was like, you guys don't even care, you know?
I know, they get paid minimum wage and they hate it.
Probably. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to mention the Travis Scott thing. I didn't buy any of his merch for myself. I bought some of his merch for another reason.
I thought you were about to tell me you bought the scooter, and I was going to be like, boy, I called that months ago.
That was just on sale for like a couple days. It's not a thing anymore.
I'm sure you could get one still if you really wanted.
Probably resale.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pay resale for a Travis Scott scooter.
If you just keep waiting, eventually that resale value will go down.
You would
You
think.
may need to wait like until Travis Scott's like a nobody, like 50 years from now, but he can't be dead. That's important.
I don't know if that'll ever happen. Travis Scott's huge. But what if, like, in the future, in the dystopian future, that's the new currency? It's Travis Scott scooters, and I'm, like, really at a loss. You know what I mean? 'Cause I have zero.
You know what? If in the future, like, if people really had value on merch, my brother would be set, and I would be so poor. I would probably not be able to afford to eat. I'd be
Yeah.
like, I have like 17-year-old jerseys that these teams aren't even sponsored by anymore.
Your home game shirt is one of 30, so, I mean, that's pretty rare.
My brother, when he saw there was a home game shirt, he immediately was like, you need to ask Joseph if I can get one. And I was like, I don't know if we have any more.
I think I actually do have one. It has a weird food stain on it. It was at my mom's house on a counter, and then someone spilled some shit on it. I was like, ugh, and I threw it to the side, but I think that one I can give to Reis.
I don't think he would care, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, also, I mean, your brother, not going to say his name. I think I've said his name on this podcast
We've
before.
definitely talked about him before. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's fine. He would love the attention. For people, I treat my brother like he's a garbage person, but he's actually really nice.
yeah, he's great. I love Reis.
Not that I would ever tell him that in person, though.
Well, it's going to be on a recording. So.
Well, that's fine.
Never tell your brother you love him.
He doesn't watch this anyway.